Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor helping you realize your dreams of owning a home or investing in one. So, up and down my timeline, and for a while, I've been seeing, and I'm a little disappointed, Keke Palmer has issued a restraining order against her former boyfriend. I think they were engaged at one point or not, or what have you. They've been in the relationship for 2 years, and now I'm hearing that there has been all types of abuse on and off from the beginning. He even hit her while she was pregnant, some reports have said. And then the last incident that made her go ahead with the restraining order is when the other day he actually broke into her home. What's a little puzzling is that the police didn't even file a report because they said that they didn't see anything to arrest him with, which is confusing to me because it's Kiki's home. His name is not on the mortgage, the deed, or anything like that. It's not on the title. So how is it that there's nothing wrong? You know what I mean? Needless to say, this does concern me a great deal. For those of you who don't know, I used to volunteer at Volunteers of America. Volunteers of America has property where it's only for battered women. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I've had 3 family members who were involved in domestic violence and a coworker. So this is a bit triggering for me. All right. This guy, in addition to all this abuse and breaking into the home, uh, it's been reported that he took a gun, held it to his head, and said he was going to kill himself. The fact that he has a gun, has this temperament, that doesn't make me comfortable. That does not make me comfortable at all. Okay. So my advice to Keke and anybody in this situation, if that man breaks into your home, you need to do one of 2 things. First, while you're still there, have the police do an audit of your property. Let them recommend what security measures you need to do in order to make your home more secure. They can recommend the type of lock you need, whether or not you need to put bars on the windows or the doors, um, where specifically. I understand she already has a camera system, but maybe she needs more cameras, or maybe she needs to place them some in other locations. You understand me? So yeah, I'm not comfortable with this particular person that Keke has become involved with. I wasn't too comfortable, tell you the truth, just like most other people, when he made the comment about how she dressed. I'm like, that was something that was a private conversation. Why did he make it public? Why did he put that on social media? You understand me? That actually was a hint to me that there was some abuse going on, but I didn't touch it because I really couldn't bring any real estate related information out of it, right? So I left it alone. Plus, in addition, Keke said when she went back to him and she said we should mind our business. So out of respect, that's what I did. But of course, I kept it in the back of my mind just like most other people. But here's how I feel about that. All right. And this is to Keke and other celebrities. All right. When your business is brought to the streets either by you or somebody that we know is close to you, you're making it the streets business. Okay. So when he made that comment online, he brought all of us into it. That's number one. Number two, I don't think Keke and many other celebrities, I don't think they realize how much they are loved, particularly by us fans, you know. And the thing is, when we see somebody, particularly like Keke, who, as young as she is, she's already a legend. Okay, let's face it. She's been in so many shows, so many movies. There are people that have grown up with her that see her as a friend in their head, a sister, a cousin. Those of us who are older, you're about my age or so, you may have seen her as the daughter or a niece, not just the movies and the shows, but even when she's interviewed, the personality that comes through, that bubbliness and everything like that. You see, that is something that draws people. That is something that attracts people. And I don't think it fully resonates, unfortunately, that we're attached. Okay. And when something happens to you, celebrity, Keke, it does affect your fans. And whether you know it or not, fans in many ways see you. We are your extended family. I'm just going to put it out there, say it like that. That's how it is. And we care. That's why we're in your business even further than you would probably want us to be. Okay. It's not and don't take all of the criticism as, oh, all these haters. No, that's not what it is. That's not what it is. Okay. Your safety, from my experience, your safety is in jeopardy right now, and you need to definitely take heed, and you need to watch your steps. Okay. Now, the second thing too, I would recommend, besides having a police audit of the property, is to move out as soon and as quickly as you can. You don't have to sell the property now, but I would definitely move and put the next property that you move to, in maybe your business name. Also, don't be telling everybody where you're moving to, okay? Because I've seen where the boyfriend, the husband, they find out where you move to, they beat you up, sometimes they kill you, sometimes they also hurt your parents physically as well. I have seen, heard where the parents were shot. So this is not, I'm glad that the judge, from my understanding, uh, said that they would take away his weapons, or that he's supposed to turn over his weapons. The only thing is that he may still have weapons somewhere else. Someone else in the family might be keeping weapons for him. So yeah, I'm not comfortable at all with this situation. I say the best bet really is number two: move until this whole thing blows over, meaning before the case hits court, while you're in court, and then even after court is finished, you may want to definitely uh, stay in an unknown location. Okay. And I'd honestly be even careful with the parents, because you don't know, he or his family might be following your family and your friends. I know these people to do this. I know these people to do this. I even have a friend who worked at one point at Women in Need. Women in Need is an organization here in New York that helps domestic violence people. They house them, number one. And number two, they also counsel them, give them skills, job placement. Well, I know back in the day they used to do all of those things. Now today they may be a little bit different, but back in the day, um, in the 90s, when I was in my 20s, that's what they did. Okay, so yeah, I'm not, like I said, I see a pattern with him that is very similar to the pattern of the other people that I have encountered in the past. Okay, so moving along, what I wanted to do is taking this situation with Keke. I wanted to also revise, if you will, or revamp an old video that I did years ago. Okay, and I feel like because of what happened, we got to bring this back up into the forefront. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to list a couple of organizations that help women and men now that are in domestic violence situations. And then after that, I'm going to say how you, if you want to help people in domestic violence situations as well using real estate. Okay, so for those of you who find yourself in this situation and you need immediate assistance, okay, you need housing immediately, you need counseling immediately. Uh, there is a domestic violence hotline, which is 1-800-799-7233. There is the dating abuse hotline, 866-331-9474. If you are overseas, there is 1-866-US-WOMEN. So 1-866-US-WOMEN. That is the number that you would dial. Another domestic violence hotline is 800-537-2238. Then there's yet another domestic violence hotline for trauma and for taking care of you mentally. That is 1312-726-7020-2011. There's also the National Resource Center for Domestic Violence. That's 1-800-537-2238. Okay. You also have, and unfortunately, I don't have the numbers to this because my tablet just went out while I was doing this video. You have Safe Horizon, New Direction, and you have the National Network to End Domestic Violence. What I'll do is I'll put that information in the description part of the video. For those of you who do not know how to get to the description, you will have to ask somebody how to do it. I am not putting all of this information in the comment section because the comment section has a character limit. Okay? Now, going back to what I was mentioning, more organizations. If you are in New York and you live in NYCHA housing, you have the Emergency Transfer Program. And you also have the Office of Supportive and Affordable Housing Services. They will place you immediately into a more safer building environment in case you are a victim of domestic violence, or even if you're being stalked, you feel you're being stalked, right? Okay. Now, other organizations that are not totally uh, dedicated to domestic violence, but have programs and shelters for those particular victims would be United Way, Volunteers of America, which I used to work for, and again, if you're in New York, WIN, Women in Need. Okay, so if you fall under these areas and you don't have Keke money, then these are the organizations that you want to reach out to. If you do have Keke money and you are Keke, please also note that many of these services is not just to provide housing, but also for your mental health. You may want to, if you want to just speak to a counselor just to get something out, these are the phone numbers that you want to contact. Now, for those of you who want to do something and you want to understand, well, real estate and domestic violence, how does that team up? Okay, good. What it's called, right? What you can do is open up a group home. It's also under, in many cases, supportive housing, right? That's right. So if you have a home, let's say you're trying to sell a home and for whatever reason it's not selling, you can actually, if you're in New York, sell it to HPD or HUD. If you're outside of New York, you may even be able to sell it to HUD and they can put it under that category, right? Otherwise, let's say you're not selling a home. Let's say you have a property, particularly more so a multifamily, but if it's a single family, they normally want 4 bedrooms or more, just so you know. And then I know some of you probably also have apartment buildings, right? So what you would do is you would go to the Department of Buildings to find out what is the necessary certification that your building needs to have. Because yes, you need certificate of occupancy, but you may need something else as well. Different states require different certificates, okay? You also may want to speak to a tax attorney as far as how to go about setting up this as a business. Now, with this type of housing, even if you make 6 figures, because you have this program in your building, you would qualify for the low income tax credit. Okay, especially if 60% of the people in your building fall under that supportive housing group home category. Okay, so the whole building, if it's an apartment building, the whole building does not need to be supportive housing, does not need to be for uh, victims of domestic violence. Just 60% of the apartments do. And the same thing with a 4-family, okay, which is residential and not commercial. All right. Now, if you are not, you may say to yourself, well, you know what? I'm not a counselor, what have you. How would this work? Okay. You don't have to be a counselor. All right. If you go to, for example, Women in Need, because there's not enough supportive housing, believe it or not, in America. There are some states where there are no supportive housing at all. But guess what? There are grants out there. And you might even say, well, you know what? I don't have time to sit down and write a grant. Guess what? Some of the domestic violence groups already have the grant and they're looking for a place to rent. Sometimes, many of these organizations, they don't make enough money, like especially New York City. New York City is so expensive, it's not funny, that they don't make enough money really to own property and then to take care of it. It's just a bit too much. They would much prefer, and it's more feasible for them to rent the property, right? to rent an apartment, and they will send the caseworker there to help and assist the women. That's how it is. That's how it works. Well, at least here in New York. I don't know how it works elsewhere. Okay. And that's pretty much that. Is basically reaching out to organizations that already have the grants, that already are set up. But of course, if you are already a caseworker, if you're already a counselor, if you already have your, I believe it's the MSW, and this is what you wanted to do, you can do the whole thing yourself. Okay, you can do the whole thing yourself. But again, if you don't have any of those things, you just want to help. And yes, it does pay. It does pay. I know someone who's making $480,000 on a 4 family. Okay, it does pay. Now, if you do it yourself, you probably will have to quit your job, because if you're doing all the work yourself, where you're the landlord and the caseworker and the counselor, etc., it's going to be too much. It's going to be too much, and it's going to be stressful. You would have to leave your day job and then do this permanently, but it pays well. All right, so I'm just letting you guys know this. Now, as far as, and here's where I'll have to admit my information or my knowledge is a little shaky here, because when I was at Volunteers of America, the way it was set up was the single ladies had to share. Women with families, they would get their own apartment. Okay. I know that you're paid per bed if it's single, but you're paid per bedroom if it's a family. Now, but see, the buildings that they had was 100% supportive housing, 100% domestic violence, right? Now, I mentioned to you before that you only have to be 60% supportive. So when it's 60% supportive, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not sure how that works. I'm thinking in my mind that if it's women for domestic violence that you're supporting, that your other tenants, even if they're not involved in domestic violence situations, they probably will have to be women also. Okay, but again, verify that with a lawyer. I only can talk about, like, for sure, with confidence, what I actually experienced when I worked at Volunteers of America. Okay? Okay. So, yeah, guys. So that's really all I wanted to shed light on. I know I have way more information in the video I did years ago on housing for the abused, but that information had, a whole bunch of information on different types of supportive housing and group homes for different types of people who have been abused. But this one is just dedicated to domestic violence, especially since we're facing this. And it is really, it's, ooh, I I really hope for the best for all involved. I have to say that I'm definitely more on the side of Keke, because of the photos that I saw. I and also because of the mentioning of guns and things like that, I just, ooh, yeah, I'm not here for it. I'm not here for it at all. I know that the laws differ from state to state. I know more will come about this eventually. Um, and I'm trying to stay open, but this is very triggering because of my experience. This is just very triggering for me. And I'll be honest with you, I almost didn't even want to do it. I almost didn't want to do it um, because of the nature and because I love Keke. I have to admit, I do. Man, all right. Listen, I'm just going to end it right now because I am at a loss for words, really, at this point in time. Uh, please share this video with anyone that you know who is in a domestic violence situation. If you yourself um, are facing this, in the midst of this, please contact one of the organizations that I've mentioned to you and seek some help. And on top of that, I'm just asking everybody, uh, please pray for all families involved, especially that baby, because this is not something to be taken lightly. This is something like really, really serious. Because think about it. Most of the men, when I look back, most of the men that have done this, they normally don't go in public. It's not something uh I mean, he must have known that the rest of the world was going to see this. You know what I mean? And for him, he is really, both of them need healing. Both of them need to be healed of whatever insecurities, whatever uh, issues that they have dealt with. Both of them need to be healed. Both of them need uh, a touch, a word, something, okay? But prayer is definitely needed in this particular situation. And I'm going to leave it at that for now. All right? So, guys, until next time, have a good night.